Okay, it's 2 after. In consideration for the folks on the call, we'll get started. First, good afternoon, and welcome to the first of our 3-part webinar series, Lunch and Learn, using social distancing as the centerpiece to your advertising strategy. On today's call, we will cover, Steve, if you can hear me, can you switch? There we go. Thank you. On today's call, we will introduce myself and Stephen Kearns, who is my associate. We will look at consumer trends during COVID-19, what advertisers are doing, messages that work, and resources. And we're going to end it with a Q&A and 3 key takeaways. If you do have a question during the call, please use your question and answer button so that we can see it, or hold your calls for the end of the presentation and we can have an open discussion around certain questions that you may have. So we will get started. A little bit about me and Exact Digital Media. Again, my name is Gina Hamilton. I am the Managing Director of Exact Digital Media and the co-founder of ExploreCTShoreline.com. It's the first destination marketing organization on the Connecticut shoreline. I have 24 years experience in digital advertising solutions, working for private and public media companies such as newspapers and broadcast TV companies across the country. In 2019, I decided to launch my own business, digital advertising agency. With that, Megan, who's also on the call, you're not gonna hear her because she's on mute, but Megan and I launched a Explore CT Shoreline to address some of the gaps that we saw in travel and tourism on the shoreline. So thank you, Megan, if you can hear me. So Steve Kearns is my partner. He is my business associate for Exact Digital Media. He has 15 years of digital marketing. He and I work together to educate and create strategic digital marketing programs for local businesses across Connecticut and the US. We have managed over 12,000 monthly campaigns. That's hyper-local regional advertising campaigns, as well as 30 plus people in Denver who are dedicated campaign managers, and we are Google Premier Partners. So when you work with us, you know that you are supported through Google Partners and the 30 plus individuals that support us in Denver, Colorado. So I'm going to kick it off to Stephen at this point, and he's going to go through the trends and what's happening since COVID-19.
Thank you, Gina. Sorry, I was muted, so I didn't interrupt. I get a little talky sometimes, so very wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it, and thank you to everybody who is attending this discussion, where we want to really look at the ways you should and can use social distancing as the centerpiece to your advertising strategy. We know that this has obviously thrown all of us a loop, so this is aimed at being educational, to go over some of the statistics and data we see, and ways that you can leverage that information to stay top of mind with your customers and ensure that your business is not impacted, or that it is minimal impact compared to what it could be without this type of information, or targeting your marketing dollars or advertising strategy to that social distancing. So let's start by looking at some data. We use Google's mobility data, and what this is doing is looking at how people's reactions and their ability to do certain things has changed over time. So as we look at very specific segments of business or things that people are accustomed to doing, we see that, for example, retail and recreation is down 23%. Grocery store visits is still down 5%. Whereas much as a month ago, this was still over 20%. And what this tells us is people are changing their habits and getting their groceries and pharmacy in other ways. Park visitation in this time has gone way up. So people are using the parks to break up the boredom and get outside, which is a good thing. This is a positive trend that we see as we are looking at Google's mobility data. As we continue, workplace traffic and people going into the office is down 37%. People using public transportation or transit is down 36%. And the amount of time people are spending at their home or in their residence is actually up about 15%. And as we look at this data, this is specific data from April through the month of May. As we look at what we saw in March and April, these numbers have gone down. They used to be even more drastic in the way of, how people were or were not using public workspaces, transit, or anything else. So as you can see, the way people have been able to act, the things they are doing, and the way they are getting their information and resources has changed. So what are the inferences here? Up to about a month ago, 90% of Americans were still under a stay-at-home order. Again, that doesn't mean that if you weren't deemed critical, you couldn't be working with consumers or potential customers. But for the most part, the way we all ran our business and the type of interaction we had with our customers changed, which we as marketers need to provide reassurances to those consumers now more than ever. So how are we continuing to communicate our goods and services to potential clients during the COVID-19 crisis?
And more specifically around Connecticut, we're entering in phase 2 on June 17th. However, while we're reopening state of Connecticut and restaurants and gyms, there is still guidance from the state of Connecticut that says, while these rules provide a way for businesses to reopen in the safe manner as possible, risks to guests and employees cannot be fully mitigated, and encourage folks who are 65 or with health issues to stay home. That's the reality of our world. While we are reopening, we are at restaurants and places who are reopening on June 17th is at 50% occupancy. So I know for me personally, I'm not going to hit the gym because I don't feel safe there. While outdoor seating for restaurants, I certainly do. I've been to 2 outdoor places, one in Farmington, the Wooden Tap, and it has been phenomenal because they're following the state guidance for restaurants. And while you see parks increase in parks, Governor Lamont is suggesting that you look at other places like trails and other parks outside of just state parks, because Hammonasset and other state parks along the shoreline get packed pretty quickly.
That's a great point, Gina. And again, it speaks to how we may usually go to one place or have very specific set habits or patterns that we follow. And this has kind of forced us to change the way we look at things. So as we look at consumer sentiment and what has changed from a consumer's perspective, what we're seeing is that our consumers or potential customers still want to hear from our businesses. 43% of consumers find it reassuring hearing from brands they know and trust. Only 15% they don't want to hear about anything from these brands that they follow or trust at this time, which shows you that 8 out of 10 people are still looking for that information because it is still relevant to our lives, even if we have to consume going to a restaurant in a different way. 40% want to hear what companies are doing specifically in response to the pandemic. And this can be along a lot of different fronts. How are they helping in the community? How are they changing their own procedures and policies in-house to ensure that as a consumer, I am safe coming in? We all know that there is no guarantees, but knowing that a business is taking the precautions to take me and my family's safety important may or may not ensure that I either do or do not going to those restaurants. And 58% of consumers want to hear about brands taking actions like making donations and what they're doing in the way of goods and services for others. To go into this a little bit more, we wanted to look at online and delivery sales by a few different categories. As we know, our ability to go out and about, to go and visit the stores we usually visit, was impacted most. So in March alone, online sales grew by 27%. Apparel was maybe the most minor of these at only a 3% lift. But as you look at food and beverage, almost a 500% increase in sales from delivery or takeout. As we look at just overall, Google search increased 285% for people looking for takeout. This is because people couldn't only cook at home, they still wanted to eat out, but to do it, you had to pick up curbside or have it delivered to your home. Those other little things that we take for granted or we were doing in store now are being done online. So as Gina mentioned, health and wellness. I'm in the same boat. I started doing my same gym classes online, led by the instructors who are doing this in a video capacity. So as a business owner, how can you do the same? How can you take what historically you provided in store and now provide that same level of service online? So let's continue down this just a little bit more and talk about a recent IAB survey and what it found. And the IAB is in essence the governing party as it pertains to digital marketing. It sets the rules and standards by which we operate to ensure safety of traffic, that you're reaching the right people. But the IAB survey found that 63% of advertisers are adjusting their messaging due to COVID-19. This is great. We believe this number should be closer to 100, and the reason it isn't is a lot of people stopped advertising altogether. We do not necessarily suggest that. We understand that every business has different needs and capabilities. So we would never judge somebody who had to make the decision to close their doors and not market at all. But by changing the messaging, we found that businesses not only were able to continue to market their business, but they were not nearly as affected as those who stopped advertising during these times. And the ways they did that is 42% of marketers have gone to purpose-driven marketing, with cause-related marketing being also a 41% increase. So again, as a person, am I donating a meal or a certain percentage of every sale to the cause? Am I doing things to help my community? These are things that people loved seeing, and consumers were making decisions as to whether they wanted to give their business to somebody based on that type of messaging. 38% plan to increase their audience targeting, which makes a ton of sense. In the last 14 weeks that I have been at home, I have spent more time online. So as we look at the data that you as a marketer or business has access to, it is actually more accurate than ever before, which is huge. So if you are reliant on travel and tourism, who is doing that research on vacation still, road trips, hotels, restaurants, entertainment specifically. This is now data that you can use to make your marketing campaign even more efficient and something that you have access to based solely on the fact that targeting is at its best ever. Device-specific targeting is expected to go up over 35%, with over-the-top media and connected TV being a huge portion of that. So this is people streaming their favorite video content online or on a television. And then last but not least, 67% said they have not changed what they are going to do for Q3 or Q4 from a marketing standpoint as a result of COVID. This is speaking more to budget, but we hope that you guys, especially after hearing a lot of the data we are talking about today, are planning on changing your strategy as it pertains to how you are going to market your business and the messaging you are going to use. So let's take this time now to look at some very specific things advertisers are doing and the tactics and strategies we are seeing in the field. So first and foremost, again, we know there is a difference between whether you have been deemed a critical business versus not, and the capabilities you have as a critical business compared to some of the others. Again, as we look at the different phases of reopenings, more and more things are starting to open. So as we look at hotels and restaurants, now that you have the ability to open, or even though you weren't open to the public to eat in, it doesn't mean you stop delivering meals or having curbside pickup. So we need to market to that. You need to educate your consumers on those things that you are doing, and it's important to help people understand what they can and cannot do based on the limitations of your business. So dependent on what you need to do and the consumers you are reaching, targeting your message becomes more valuable than ever. Industries that are advertising. Currently, some of the best industries we've seen that are still advertising at this time are restaurants, home services, which makes sense because we are in our houses more than ever before, higher education, tax professionals, as just because things have changed, you may not be able to visit your tax person in person, but you still have taxes, and educating them that those deadlines have changed is important. And then as we look at some of those other ones, healthcare, fitness, and then certainly e-commerce and retail, due specifically to the fact that our habits are changing. So we're going to go through a few very specific industries as it pertains to what we are seeing in the successes they are having, the way that they are positioning themselves to consumers, and why this is continuing to work for them. So first and foremost, restaurants. This is one of the things that we saw stay very strong throughout this, as long as a business was willing to update their creative and their offerings to ensure that people had options, whether that is curbside pickup, they were able to deliver themselves or partner with a delivery service like a DoorDash or something like that, but even changing their normal model. So for example, some of the really cool things we've seen are restaurants that aren't necessarily family style restaurants offering family style meals. This is very advantageous from a cost perspective for the business, but also for the end users. We've seen package meals to go that even include wine or things like that to help people as they are looking for different options. Date night specials. This is something that is very important as people have been stuck together, and being outside of the norm or being able to continue what you would have been able to do before has been huge. And maybe one of my favorites is virtual cooking classes. So I may not be able to have a consumer come in and I only deliver to them or have them pick up, but how can I ensure when this is over that people are going to continue to come to my restaurant? And we've seen some that are able to use virtual cooking classes to stay in front of their patrons. How are they doing this? Well, we find that device ID data or leveraging location-based targeting has been very important. This targeting goes back to pre-COVID, which gives you the ability to target people we know have been to specific restaurants, we know have dined out, or that they went to specific types of restaurants before everything kind of went up. So this is very accurate, and these are the same people that for the most part are going to go out and eat out again. So some things that you need to make sure you are doing as a restaurant owner. First and foremost, you need to get creative. Make sure that you are communicating not only these special packages we talked about and alluded to, but the things that you are doing to ensure our safety. Talk about your cleaning, what you're doing in between tables to ensure that it is safe for me to come and sit down. Promote the fact that you don't want people standing in the lobby. So setting reservations if you are open and allowing customers is more important than ever. It doesn't mean you should stop marketing your delivery or takeout, because those things are going to continue. But making sure that people know that they can set a reservation and what you're doing is huge. Updating your Google My Business. This is something we saw a ton of local business, not just specific to restaurants, didn't do or took for granted. So this is going to be a way for, as people are leveraging search to find out if people are still open or what services they are providing, for them very easily to see whether you are open, if you are or are not, whether you do delivery or takeout, where you're located, and then get to your website where they can make those educated decisions on who they are going to give their time and money to. And this is where you can differentiate yourself and ensure success as we look at restaurants specifically. Home services. This may be the number one thing that we saw people do, and this isn't necessarily just tied to your plumbing or heating and air or any of those. This pertains to home renovations that people are doing themselves as they have more time and availability at home. So offering savings to encourage homeowners to do those things that they've put off for years or a certain amount of time, just based on their new ability, or even the fact that it may be driving them crazy now that they're spending more time at home. Things that are working are low interest or some sort of incentive outside of just your normal pricing to drive that. Showcase those specific projects that people can be doing. Is it redoing a bathroom or pulling up carpet to put in tile or hardwood for the first time? Are you really tired of cooking in your kitchen now that you've done that more probably than you have ever before? Or maybe we've started to notice little issues that we didn't know were a problem, like our roof or decks as we spend more time outside. So with home services and that really high-end targeting, as a business owner, you now have the capability to target people we know are looking for those types of services online. What are they doing their research on? Are they looking at different bathroom renovation ideas or types of tile or hardwood? And you can now leverage that data more than ever to make sure that as they are making these decisions, they are going through you guys. So again, what's working? I love this deck project, and it is aimed at DIY, a curbside pickup or delivery for the ability for me to build a deck and take advantage of that time at home. 40% off windows, 0 down, 0 interest, 0 payments for 24 months. This is going to ensure that even if I am a little worried about my job when things may be back to normal, at 24 months of no payments, I can get this done now to not only be able to utilize it, but to pay it off over time, to let things get back to normal and me to be able to make those things. So focus on those things that are critical. Focus on those things that are available based on time or necessity, based on how much time people are spending at home. Leverage that free time and people looking for something to do. And then offers has been huge in this space. As I said, people are looking for ways to get this done, but get it done at an affordable way. They're looking at this as a time or an advantage as a business owner or as a consumer to take advantage of some of the offers that they have seen. And there are a lot of different ways you can leverage the different tools in marketing available here. You have the paid search space. People we know are looking for specific products or services that you offer. In addition to those targeted ads, be it display, email, or even location-based services, because these are the things that I know are more accurate than ever and allow you to reach that right audience at the right place at the right time, which is so important and a huge advantage to digital marketing. These next two categories we are going to speak of kind of blend together, but I think they have done a great job in changing what they do and how they offer their services. So as we look at higher education, this is something where people, again, have more time and they're able to leverage some higher education to develop their skills and refine what they do and how they do it, so that as things normalize, they're ready to take advantage of the market and maybe get that raise or add a second degree to get a higher paying job. It can nurture those prospective students so they have done a good job of leveraging not just the fact that, hey, we are not open here, but you can take these classes online, or let them be known where maybe you weren't before as an online solution. Again, take advantage and market to the fact that online is more affordable, you have flexible learning options, and you can go to a school that maybe you hadn't considered just because of location and driving physically there, versus you may want to go to a different school based solely on the fact that you can get into that school online. And then obviously, again, we are going to keep hitting on the valuable targeting you have access to. So as it pertains to higher education, we've seen a couple different strategies. First and foremost, high school age seniors getting ready for not only finishing their high school education, but where to go to college. So targeting those high school age students, preparing to make those types of decisions is huge. Or maybe you start now by targeting those 25 to 45-year-olds who are going to come back and finish a degree or add on to their current degree, and maybe they're looking to get a master's or something like that. So as we look at some of the different things we've seen, obviously promoting the fact that you are online and you have the ability to do these things at your own time and pace without going to a physical location has been huge. Communicate urgency or an action deadline. So again, be ready to use this education or additional skills that you will pick up by the time things normalize. Get that raise you want. Speak to the different ways that you are going to help somebody, not just now while they're stuck in their home, or more so now how you're going to help them as things are starting to normalize in the ways that they can use this higher education. And again, there are so many different ways to leverage this if you are in this space. Targeted display, retargeting, Facebook, email, and paid search have been the top ways we've seen our higher education partners reaching those potential students or the people we know have degrees and are looking for that further education. E-learning is very similar, but where we've kind of differentiated this is the fact that I am a stay-at-home parent right now with a full-time job. I work the same amount of time, if not more now, so keeping my children's education up is harder than ever. My wife and I just do not have the time, as we are both juggling our regular job to ensure that they are getting the education that they want. Thankfully, granted, it is summer, but my daughter is going into kindergarten next year. So as a parent, I may be looking at ways to help e-learning and to increase the amount of things that we can do for our children to make sure that they stay sharp. Online tutors, leveraging online classes and e-learning has been huge, not just for us, but for other parents stuck in the same situation. And this can apply to that higher ed or people furthering their very specific knowledge or things that they can do to help them as they get back into a normal role of or workforce. So again, some of the people we see being targeted with e-learning are changing careers or lifelong learners, parents taking advantage of this for their children and looking at furthering their education, niche certifications. So is there a certification that you can take online to give you that added benefit as you are looking for jobs, considering a change, or even at your current job, maybe to affect your pay or how well you can do your current job? We've seen a ton of great ways, primarily around online learning, utilizing video. And as a business owner, you have the capabilities to do the same things. We are seeing more and more business types offer online education, video seminars, or consultations, and that is regardless of industry. So as a business owner, use technology the same way that your consumers are looking to use technology. Can you do a walkthrough of a home, for example, on a phone with video without having to put a potential buyer at risk? You can. And you have all the tools in the tool bag to make sure that you are reaching, again, that right person at the right place and at the right time. Because as you look at those three different things, there are so many different ways people are consuming media and getting their message today. So by working with Gina, talking about the specifics of your business, you are going to be able to plan out the best plan of attack, the right way to approach people, and then track the effectiveness all the way through that campaign. So we talked a little bit about that accounting and tax professionals. Why is this one important? Well, the deadline has been extended through July 15th now, rather than what is usually considered to be March and April. So people have pushed this off, and they are now going to need this done, both as a consumer, but also especially as a business. Businesses with this extension are still going to need to file, and they are going to need to do a lot of it online where they may not have in the past. So leveraging the people we know are doing specific searches, leveraging your own first-party data and potential customers that you've worked with in the past or your current customers, and leveraging that data to make sure you are staying in front of them digitally has been huge. And then some of the additional targets that we do have access to help you if you are in this space. We can look at people who may or may not have filed their taxes. We can look at very specific searches or behaviors that people are doing online that are related to filing tax extensions. Seniors with nest eggs are a good target due to the drop in the stock market. A lot of them are having financial issues just based on the fact that we all took a hit if you had money invested. Or again, filing extensions or ease the financial crunch. So there are a lot of different ways that you can approach this if you're an accounting or a tax professional to be able to reach those potential customers most likely to do business with you. I love some of these ad examples because is your business taking full advantage of the 2020 CARES Act with a huge stack of paper? As a business owner, I don't have a ton of time. So this tells me like, wow, I can avoid all the hassle. I do need help. How can I get that? So there are very clear call to actions in these targeted examples that if you are in the market and able to leverage that data we just spoke about, if you are putting that in front of these people, you are much more likely to be able to get that new business or retain your current customers based on that messaging. So you want to speak to that very specific set of the population who has not paid their taxes. You want to promote the new deadline and how you can help them, whether that be in person and the measures you take in person now, or whether that is online. And make sure that because there is more time, that you're getting the most out of it, that you're getting the largest return you can, and you are putting yourself up in the best position, because now more than ever, as a business owner, it is important to have access to capital, to know that you are making wise business decisions. And again, all of the different marketing mediums are in play here, and I would suggest leveraging your own data and past customers especially to make sure that you are getting that information out and retaining your customers. Automotive. If you're a business owner, automotive has been a huge one, but this is where we've seen some really great examples of them using COVID as the centerpiece of their marketing strategy. We are seeing that they never stopped advertising and that they are staying top of mind, that they are putting not just general messaging in there, but they have catered their messaging to kind of take everything and the needs people have into effect. They are offering 0% for longer terms. They are deferring payments to the end and donating payments to charities. So there are a ton of ways that automotive has gone from being kind of an old school mindset to now ushering in the future. And some of this is going to stick. More and more, you are only going to be able to see a car dealer by appointment only. And that is something where that has not been the case traditionally. But this is something where you may run into this moving forward, where you can only get into a showroom if you have an appointment. And as we look at things that research certainly never stopped, this is one of those. I am the type where I'm not going to buy a car online without seeing it, feeling it, knowing how it operates and how well it performs, or that it's going to meet my needs for 2 children with dance and soccer equipment. So, again, we know that targeting is at its best ever. If you want to target people who are looking for a new car, truck, or SUV, you can do that very easily. You can target people where their loan or lease is coming up. by income level or credit score, people who have been known to be doing maintenance on their vehicle, or targeting those very specific locations based on those facts. Because if I know that they were looking for a car in February, they may or may not have purchased that car already. So I want to target those people who are in my competitors' locations. Leveraging data is so important across all of these verticals and categories we are talking about, not just auto. And we keep coming back to it because, again, data is at the best it's ever been from an online targeting perspective. So when we can properly tie creative messaging that is relevant to these users and reaching them, knowing that they are in the market for a service that you offer, it is only going to increase not only the traffic to your website, but the meaningful actions they are going to take when they get there. Are they going to set that reservation if you're a restaurant or a hotel? Are they going to book rooms or excursions or activities? Are you going to be able to get into the showroom to test drive that vehicle? So making sure that the messaging ties in and is leveraging the awesome data you have access to as a business owner is super, super important. We got a couple more industries here before we finish this out. Healthcare. This is obviously a huge one as we look at COVID and what is happening. So the healthcare industry is going to have tons and tons of ways it is changing. But what we are seeing is with health concerns, again, this is a vertical that is going more and more online. Where we can do without doctor's visits, we are doing visits online by chat, text, or video. People are searching more than ever different types of ways to stay healthy, whether that's related to weight loss, mental health, or even just maybe some of the aches and pains that they have because they are sitting around more than they may have been before. And I think this industry has done a great job specifically as it pertains to updating their website and information to let people know what they are doing, the issues that they face, how they are engaging with customers, how to stay safe in times that there are going to be varying levels of concern, especially as we looked at what Gina said, the older population is a higher at risk population. So how can you speak to that if you are a business owner knowing that that is an issue? If you are in healthcare, you can target parents with young children, parents with teenage, or a household where parents live in-house. So maybe something where, my parents at 36 years old may be living with me now just based on the situation and what's been going on. You can target obviously people by age group, but also layer in different geo-targeting or location-based targeting for those who may have been in an assisted living facility or something like that. So leveraging this high-end data and tying it to, again, this healthcare is going to be huge, and healthcare has done a great, great job of this. So as we look at some of the ways people have done it, we have seen them speak very creatively to each of the different groups that they want to target with different messaging. So cater that ad to an aging senior versus somebody who may or may not have the same type of things. Catering your ad to that telehealth or chatting to your doctor online versus going in and putting yourself at a higher risk. Talk about your staff and the different things that they have, or the ways that you are approaching this and how they can get information on staying healthy, not just now, but moving forward. So the healthcare industry has done a great job, not just catering their message, but doing it in multiple ways, leveraging those multiple products we talked about that you have access to as a business. And right in line with that healthcare industry, fitness is big. More so than ever, people are packing on the pounds. I think as I look at my own situation, I have put on what has been deemed the COVID-20. My snacking has gotten worse. My workout is less frequent and not as difficult as it used to be. So even though my gym has gone to offering virtual classes or specialized workout plans, that's just not something that motivates me personally the same. But this industry has done a great job of changing to those Zoom workouts, or having one-on-one training sessions, speaking to what they can and cannot do, and keeping people healthy and fit during this time. So in this case, everybody can use to be healthier. Most people need to work out. So mass marketing to a general targeted area has been great for this, but also targeting people who we know are going to gyms in the past, or location-based data, or doing research online about new workouts or things that they can be doing at home, are the perfect people to put your message in front of in this space. I love some of the ads again that we've seen here. We're all in this together. Enjoy a free pass when we reopen. So they may not be open now, but they're telling people when we do, you can join for free. That is powerful. You can also obviously do online seminars. Right now we see a lot of online classes or people doing the same things that they would be doing in store from their home. So make sure you are communicating these things, private classes, online video sessions, selling information that they may or may not need. If you're a gym, do you offer the equipment that you utilize at your store for people to purchase and have delivered to their home? These are all tactics we've seen make the fitness industry one that has done very, very well in this time. And just overall, as we look at things that you can do as a business, or some ideas that we have or are seeing across the landscape that are being successful, is possibly promoting a grand reopening. Treat this as a way to launch your business in a new way with new limitations and communicate that to your customers. Let them know what the new norm is going to be and how you're going to stay on the forefront of making sure that they are safe with you and what you are going to do to be able to continue to help them as a customer of yours. And this applies to any and all of those businesses. Digital storefront is going to be more and more important now as ever, and future-proof your business in case this happens again. We've all probably heard the rumors that this could happen this winter, and it could be a seasonal thing that we have to face annually. That is scary to think of when you think about the precautions and the way it affected our country now. But by having a digital storefront, by allowing your consumers to purchase your goods and services, order from you online, is more important than ever. And the next time this happens will ensure that you are not as impacted as you may have been this time, based on whether you did or did not have e-commerce or the ability for people to purchase from your website the goods and services that you offer. So this is going to be very important moving forward. And as we look at the growth that is projected, we see that 85% of shoppers are doing their research online, but more and more are starting to make purchases, and the amount of dollars spent by 2023 is close to $1 trillion. That number is still in the billions with the B, but by 2023, we are almost at the point where trillions of dollars are going to be spent online. And it is important to ensure that your business is getting its share of this, rather than letting large businesses like your large retail stores or Amazon get the better of this. By putting yourself in a position to have a digital storefront and e-commerce capabilities, not only are you future-proofing your business, but you're allowing those businesses or those retailers and customers who do not want to go through a big box shopper to get your goods and services, well, you may or may not be able to allow them in store. And this one is important because as we look at post-pandemic and vacations, we know that people are still looking for travel. We know that more people than ever need it as boredom is setting in, as frustrations of being in the same place with the same people is setting in. So as we look at what we're seeing here, we are seeing people that are researching, but we also know that there are going to be some ways that people are changing their vacation habits. They may not be changing or be getting on an airplane anymore. It may be staycations or road trips, something that is closer to home than usual or what they may have done in the past. Staying domestic rather than travel international. 18% of people responded that they will be doing that more now that we've had to deal with COVID. We have almost 20% of people who said they are just going to take fewer vacations, or that they're going to be short haul or within a certain distance. So knowing this type of thing and being able to cater to it is huge, especially as we look at what this is and what you guys are trying to promote, the association that you are a part of. We want the CT Shoreline to be as popular and less effective than ever, or affected than ever. So how do we do that? Take this information and change your promotions and the way you market to people to promote those shorter vacations. Maybe only promote inside of Connecticut or within a couple-hour drive versus promoting nationwide or in a larger geo area. And these are some of the ways that you are going to help be able to recoup some of that business that is going to be out there. It's just coming in a different way. So leverage that data and tailor your marketing to ensure that you are putting yourself in the best position to take advantage of those people who still want to and are going to vacation, and ensure that they go to the CT Shoreline.
And so in closing, I will articulate 3 things that we should be taking a look at. One, Explore CT Shoreline is a site that really caters to the travel and tourism businesses who want to promote and gain business through other means. And, Explore CT Shoreline launched their digital advertising as of June 1st, really targeting people who are exhibiting interest in travel, staycations, people who want to do day trips, especially with kids. The Connecticut Beardsley Zoo just announced a virtual camping or camp to really target the children's and continue to entice the children and parents. So 3 things that I would instill in after this is really take a look at your website and make sure that your online storefront is updated, that customers can communicate to you. Make sure that you are providing them with the details of how to connect with you, whether it be a restaurant or a small boutique store. Google My Business is probably the one area of businesses who do not take advantage of. This is a great opportunity for you to look at your Google My Business profile, make sure that the hours of operation is updated. This is pertinent information for consumers who are searching using their mobile device. 82% or even more of Google searches are done on your mobile device. So if your information is outdated, or if you're not focused on that information, please do so, or give me a call and I will help you. There is definitely a strategy involved in getting your Google My Business optimized and consistently showing up on Google search. And then finally, advertise how customers can do business with you. 52% of consumers had a positive impression of companies running ads tied to the pandemic. So take a look at, what safety precautions you are taking. Where can customers order, contact, and buy from you? These are all important things. In particular, Penny Lane Pub shifted their business model quickly because they saw a need in their local market, Old Saybrook, and they launched a Shop the Kitchen at Penny Lane Pub. It really was to support Old Saybrook through the pandemic and to really convey a message that was key to their market. We can only get through this together. And so community was very important. Scotch Plains Tavern was advertising, and they pivoted their marketing message to really push their delivery and curbside pickup, which is, purchase a gift card, support the local markets. So they changed and pivoted their message as well. Cold Spring Farms is a farm in Colchester, and they started delivering fresh produce, meats, yogurt, milk to their community. I mean, we see a lot of these local businesses who pivoted to support the people who are, nurses and doctors who had to go into the hospital every single day. So I love the fact that the community came together. So if there were 3 things, take a look at your website, take a look at your Google My Business, and then also take a look at your messaging and see how you are messaging to your customers who do want to hear from you, regardless of, phase 2 opening and 50% occupancy. They still want to know that you're out there and that you are taking precautions. So with that, I appreciate your time today. I know that Lunch and Learn, I hope you had your bag of lunch. And thank you, Steve Kearns, for your help in articulating and presenting this presentation today. And with that, we will close out this webinar, and we look forward to the next webinar, which is coming up next Monday for our 12 o'clock Lunch and Learn. And that's going to be focusing on content is key and really focusing on creative messaging. So with that, thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you more.